everybody. My name is Ann Théato and welcome to the Psychic Matters podcast, episode number 14. This is what is coming up.
When I met David, I was very, very sick. And just through, what he'd been through, he showed me a way of healing myself.
I'm a scientist and I'm not a scientist at the same time. Probably more analytical. I've got an analytical mind. I don't think it's separate from a spiritual connection as well. You can have them both. I was studying food and knew food was important. I've been studying scientifically everything, but I knew that the answer wasn't just the food. It was in the energy of the food. It was in the energy of us. There's a spiritual aspect to us as well as a physical. And what macrobiotics does, it connects the food and the energy of the food to the spiritual aspects. Really, when you heal, it's not just the food that's healing, it's everything that you do that heals you.
This week, I'm talking to two world experts about many topics, one of which is the philosophy of macrobiotics. Food contains not only nutrients, but energy as well. And we really are what we eat. All of our cells are built on the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. And whatever we ingest builds our body and our mind. My next guest, David McCarthy, tells us that he cured his son's brain cancer by altering his diet. And David's wife, Nicola, tells us that many illnesses and imbalances of the body can easily be cured, simply by choosing the right foods and liquids for our body, which in turn eliminates blocked energy from the body, mind and spirit, cleaning up mental angst and anxieties and allowing our energy to flow freely. If you feel you could make some changes of your own, and I know that I sure feel I could make some, this is definitely the podcast for you. I have two extraordinary guests on the show this week, a wife and husband team, both experts in their respective fields, and between them they hold a phenomenal amount of knowledge. They have studied Ayurveda, veganism, kinesiology, reflexology, healing in the form of crystals and Reiki, trance. They've studied EFT, emotional freedom technique, matrix re-imprinting, psychic skills and mediumship. They studied macrobiotics at the esteemed Kushi Institute of Europe in Amsterdam and with highly regarded tutors over in the USA. And since then, they've gone on from strength to strength, owning their own macrobiotic cafe, 2 natural health food shops, an online macrobiotic store, and in 2016, they opened the Kushi Macrobiotic School here in the UK. They supply macrobiotic food to Hollywood A-listers and have been featured in many magazines. And I am absolutely thrilled to welcome them here to the studio today. Nicola and David McCarthy, welcome to Psychic Matters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so great to talk to you. Half of the things I've just mentioned in the introduction, I don't even know what they are. So I'm really excited to talk to you. So I'm going to hand over to you, David, for you to just tell us in your own words about the work that you do and start wherever you wish to start, because your lives sound fascinating.
Okay, well, I suppose really I should start with a bit of my beginning into the pathway. Which I suppose was when I was a child, strangely enough. I used to have, I had a visitor most evenings. It was a nun I used to see, and she'd be praying and doing her rosary over me, and I felt that she was guiding me. And she was with me pretty much every night. Actually, probably till I was about 9 or 10, and we moved house. And I used to think, afterwards, you think, oh, well, was that me just making this up? It wasn't. It felt really real. And I remember telling my mom about it, probably when I was about 8. And my mom said, I'll come in and have a word with her. Well, my mom came in and she saw her and said, you don't need to be around as much now. We're looking after him more. Don't worry. And my brother used to sleep in the bed next to me. he occasionally saw her as well. So, because I thought, am I just making this up? But it was very real to me, and I felt very comforted by it. But the spiritual side of my life was sort of there, always in the background after we moved house. And, I had a great aunt who used to do the tea leaves amazingly. We used to see her every week. And a great uncle who was actually quite a well-respected medium and healer. And we'd often go around and we'd just talk and then have readings. We'd always give us a reading every time we went around, which was quite amazing. But actually for a teenager, you're thinking, oh, well, this is a little bit, it's okay. I just accept it. But, I didn't think anything more at it. It was just normal for me.
Wow.
And one of his readings, very interestingly, and it was one my brother remembers really strongly. I think it was about 14 at the time, and my brother was 17, and we went round, and he said that I can see that. I can see you both working in white coats, and you're both doing very well. And yes, and David, I can see that you're going to find a cure for cancer. Wow, that had an impact on my brother. For me, I just thought, oh, that's interesting. Did nothing else. And my brother was more of a scientist, and he's gone on to become a professor of applied health, like an alternative health, really. So, and I think he sort of took a bit of umbrage at the time. I was a bit surprised because he was a much more studious one than me. Anyway, I just took it as it was, and very lightly. And then went on, and after I went on to university and was guided to do pharmacy by my brother. I wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people. It was just natural in me to do that. So I did. I studied pharmacy, and I went out, and then I wanted to just help to heal people, in my own way. As a pharmacist, I was a bit different to the others. I was very studious, actually, but I was also very cautionary and always trying to put people off taking medications. But apart from that, I was very successful, which is a bit strange. But, I said, do you really need to take that? And do you really understand this? And anyway, so life went on, and I became very successful, very, very successful. I had a chain of shops, and I was doing really well. And then I just, I had a wife, and we had a son, and came home from work to pick my son up from school, and he had heavy bags, and I picked him up, and his bags were really heavy, and I thought, oh, crikey, and he had a stiff neck. Anyway, we went on a walking holiday. It was very active, very physically, I was a bit of a mad runner and a keep fit freak. And we came back from the holiday, and it turned out my son had an inoperable brain tumour, and he had 4 weeks to live.
Oh, my goodness.
And nothing in what I'd been doing for years would help. No drug, no medicine. And various ones were offered, but I knew that none of them worked. And I thought, well, why are you doing this? Yeah. And, I just couldn't. It threw me out completely as to where I was and everything in life. So it changed your life from that day, Friday the 13th.
Oh, goodness.
For a few years after that, I was a bit wary about Friday the 13th.
Yes.
But anyway, so I knew deep inside there was something. There's always an answer out there. And I was forever the optimist. Well, we changed our diet overnight. That's when I became vegan the first time. I knew diet was important, but I didn't know how. And I'd met people, and luckily I could network quite well, and speaking to people in America who were experts in the field at the time. We changed our diet. We changed many things. My brother, who was also a herbalist, always erring more on the natural side, and we came up with a regime, and we got rid of the tumour. It went from the size of a large orange down to nothing. And we felt excited, but very nervous. Unfortunately, the tumour came back very quickly after a year or so. But again, I found some more natural therapies and managed to get rid of it. But then when we were really excited about it and going to go to the press because it was a miracle, my son passed away very quickly with septicemia. Within just a few hours, he'd gone from being apparently healthy to not. And passed away very quickly. So, but he set me on my path for the rest of my life, and and you know, that was one of the reasons he was around, and I'm forever grateful, really, for what he went through for me and for what he let me experiment on him, in a way to you know, prove that there's more to life than medicines and everything. And really, since then, I've committed to know what I did exactly and how did it work. And I'm an avid studier, and I just carried on studying and studying and studying. And then my then wife was an agnostic and not a believer. And I knew that when my son had passed, I sort of felt the day he was going to be taken. And I knew afterwards that he wasn't, you know, not dead. He was just somewhere else. I just knew it, you know, I didn't have any doubt about it at all. But my wife just didn't, my then wife just didn't believe any of that.
Yes.
So I thought, well, we'll go to mediums. And I went to a couple of mediums who, I mean, I didn't know any mediums at the time. And this is 20 odd years ago. And I managed to find some mediums who didn't have any clue who I was, in the middle of nowhere in Kent. And just got the most amazing readings and the most amazing evidence. He came through within 6 weeks, which, you know, the medium says, it might be a bit too soon. But yeah, it was amazing. And it continued to be amazing. And then I thought, well, I need to develop more because I want to connect with him. So I then, you know, went to a local spiritual center and used to go along and listen to different mediums, and join some circles. And all the time, whenever I'd meet people, I'd be getting more and more amazing evidence. And Jonathan would do amazing things. On his first anniversary of his passing, I thought, we'll just get people together, even though it's like a bit sad. And I suppose I was more sad than happy at those times still, and still aching, you know, for the loss of him. We got the people together in the house, and it was in the daytime, and we had to put the lights on because it was a bit dark outside. And then all the lights just blew in the house, and then it was a bit strange. And then about 10 minutes after, I went into his bedroom, and on the ceiling was a heart shape in the ceiling. It's about 1.5 meters wide, heart shape caused by a burst in the water, which had, whatever reason, had happened.
Wow.
And it stayed there for ages afterwards. And
Wow.
I thought, well, that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
How do you get that? How do you work things out like that? Well, he just kept doing amazing things and working things out. And so even I would see them and feel them. And I was doing more and more with the spiritual church. And as the years went on, and then I was studying under Tony Stockwell at the time. Before he became famous, really, he used to run some events and training in a sports centre over in Essex. And I used to go there, and it was amazing. Yeah, he gave me some amazing evidence, and he built me up, and I started to develop myself more in a circle. Then I very quickly went into trance very quickly, and the energy was very strong. And it was really freaky for me. I'm wondering what was going on, but it just comes very naturally for me to do that. It's just very naturally for me to fall into that state, and for them to come very close to me. And then as time went on, I was doing more with a local church. And then one day they said, I got a phone call saying, Colin Fry's coming. Do you want to come and see him at the church? Just come along, don't have to pay. It's, don't worry, it's going to be busy. There'll be no seats left. So I said, oh, okay, well, I'm busy really. I've been working hard. I put the phone down, and then I got a big hand on my back. Be aware I was driving the car at speed on the motorway at the time. Probably not really should have been on the phone. But anyway, I got a big hand on my back and pushing me. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to go. So I thought that was really strange. That was the first time that had happened to me. So I went to the church. I got a reading from Colin Fry that night, which was a most amazingly accurate reading I'd had up until that point. It was amazing. Anyway, at the end of the evening, the lady who organised the event said, oh, well, he's going to do a writing day, a mediumship channeling day. Do you want to come? And I thought, well, I'm not really interested in writing and channeling, but yeah, I'll go because he's given me an amazing reading. So they got a few people together, and there was going to be 5 of us going. And I was going to be the driver, really. I was the one who driving what I was doing. And I thought, well, that's it. So I lived in Kent at the time, and it was on a Sunday, so one of the people cancelled the night before, and then I got in the car and another one cancelled and drove down the motorway, another one cancelled, drove further down the motorway and another one cancelled. And I thought, oh, well, I'm driving all the way to Sussex. I don't even really want to go on a Sunday morning when I could think of better things to be doing. Anyway, so I drove to Sussex and I go into Colin Fry's workshop. I was a little late. There was only, I opened the door and there was only one chair left. And this is where somebody else might say a few things.
Hello, Anne.
Hello, Nicola.
Yeah, and then I was the lady sitting next to the empty chair. And yeah, I mean, I looked up, saw David walk in. It was the most odd sensation I've ever had in my life. I just looked up from where I was sitting, saw him walk through the door, and thought, oh my goodness, that's my husband. At the time I was married. I had 2 children, and yeah, it was just like, I just didn't understand it at all. Wow. I was there learning to channel better, I guess. I mean, my sort of story really was black sheep of the family, I guess, really. The one that, sensed a lot, was very sensitive, didn't really understand the world around me, because I was just different and I didn't understand that at the time, and kind of just grew up really not really having anybody to talk to about this feeling and these kind of strange things that went on around me, because nobody really understood. And really, it took a long time to sort of find myself. I'd go out with the family and we'd go out for days, and my dad would be driving the car and I'd know where we were going. And we'd never been there before. And, we'd turn the corner and I'd know the street road, I'd know the name that was going to be coming up on the street and had never been there before. And all these odd things, and it was, I always felt that I was kind of being suppressed and because other people didn't really understand it and thought, oh, it's a little bit odd, just it's probably best not to talk about that. And really it was, I suppose, in my 30s, I guess, my early 30s, that I started to feel a little bit more confident. I think mediumship was starting to be a bit more accepted. I don't think it was really on the television so much. I think it was still very much taboo. But there were more people, writing books and things, and I felt a bit more comfortable. And I got interested and found there was a local an evening going on in our hometown in Haywards Heath, where we lived at the time in Sussex. And I thought, I'm going to go to that. It was a talk about, spiritualism. And I was absolutely enthralled. I just sat there and just thought, I'm home. These people understand me. I understand everything everybody's talking about. Everybody feels like a friend. It was just kind of quite a revelation, really, and felt very, very happy. And I just remember, I didn't have any confidence then. I'm quite a different person now. And I sat there, and at the end, I just put my hand up and I said, can you recommend a medium? And they just looked at me as if I was a bit strange and said, well, Colin Fry, he lives just down the road. And I didn't even know at the time who Colin Fry was, for people that are listening, they may well not know who Colin Fry is. He's sadly passed away now, but at the time he was, very, very popular medium, very good, and he had a very popular TV show called Sixth Sense. And little did I know, but he lived just a few roads away from me. So I was quite lucky to have found him at that time. I just went along to a few of his workshops and found that this kind of feeling that I'd had all my life, really was mediumship. It was the real deal. And, very quickly I discovered that, I could connect to something that was really quite amazing. And I decided to find a circle, that all came very naturally, found something very quickly, and developed myself there. My children started school, and things were very quiet in my life, and I had this kind of peace. And I don't know, I expect other people will resonate. You get this peace in your life, this emptiness, and then something comes to fill it, doesn't it? Yes. I just started to have voices, saying, pick up a pen and paper. I'm not a writer. I'm more of a creative, artist. And so I picked up this pen, and I thought, goodness, what am I doing? And just these words were almost being dictated through my head, and I just started writing and copying down what they were telling me. And I just wrote pages and pages of very wise words, and I was shocked at the end of it. I mean, I just knew there was no way that it was me. I wasn't an academic. I'd failed my English at school several times. Yes. There were words that I'd written that I didn't even know what the words meant. I spoke to a good friend at the time who said, Nicola, you didn't write that. And I said, no, I didn't write that. Yeah. And I just thought, well, I've got to understand this. So when I found this channeling workshop at Collins, I thought, yeah, I've got to go along to that and see what he's got to say about this. And from that moment on, I mean, I met David. We very quickly became a couple. I knew that we'd known each other before. We've since done, past lives, and the most incredible and actually the most emotional stories have come up about just seeing ourselves. I've got the most vivid memories of our past, being healers together in was it Mongolia? Where we were just, years and years ago, where we were just, in a very, quiet little place on a mountainside, helping people who would just pop by and pick up, natural healing potions and remedies and herbs and things. And I just could clearly see it in my mind. And then David was taken by men on horseback. He was just taken away, struggling, and I never saw him again. And that was, I can say it now without crying, but for years, that point got me. Yes. Because it is so real. And there's actually many, many, many memories. So I knew that we'd had a connection in the past, and this is why, when I saw him, it was that he's back. And really together, we continued our spiritual journey. As David mentions, he'd already met Tony Stockwell, and we continued sort of studying and actually ran some events, in fact, with Tony.
Yeah, we did. We got him down to some big events first. The first ones, he'd done big ones down in Sussex, and we enjoyed that. And he used to come around our house and do readings for people when we lived in Sussex. So it was great, and it was good because I love his energy, I love his positivity. And yeah, he was ready to take on the world. And then not long after that, really, that time he became famous too. He got on television and got a contract, and it was really good for spiritualism to spread it out that way. But I remember we see Tony every now and then, don't we? We go off and see him and catch up at maybe a workshop or something like that at his centre in Essex. And then one of the workshops we got him down for a weekend, we did table tilting.
Oh, yes.
And table tilting's like, yeah, good. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, this is good. Oh, but maybe it could be made up a bit. Well, my son's obviously was with quite a gang of people who had quite a lot of energy. And he would come through very, very strongly and had a lot of high energy. And we did a table tilting session with Tony that he has never seen or experienced since or before. And it was in a church hall. It was in a village hall. It was a big hall. It was in a big hall. And the room was probably, I don't know, 150 feet long or something like that. And we did the table tilting, and the table tilting was so strong that we were chasing the table up the room with just barely one finger on it each. And There was two or three of us just managing to keep up with the table. It was going that fast.
We all had to run, and
it was amazing.
Every time we see Tony, he kind of he brings back that story because it was just amazing.
Absolutely fun. Absolutely, yeah.
But you know, Jonathan has been a big presence in in my life. Sadly, I never met him, but he, his energy is just so pure and so positive and so high. For many years, he would just come through and I would have conversations with him. And it was quite odd, really. He'd usually come through when we were sitting together as a family at mealtimes and just he'd bring songs with like just one line of a song, and it was particularly relevant to the moment that we were going through. But he would bring through all sorts of memories. He would bring through names of people that we should be meeting. We've had the most serendipitous, I don't know if that's the right word, meetings with people, which if I told you, you would just never believe. And I knew that it was Jonathan that was lining up things for us, He one day, he just said to me, go up to the spare bedroom. You'll see me on the floor. And I thought, what? And as I was going up the stairs, there was this sense of excitement. I'm going to show myself to you. I'm going to show myself to you. And I went up to the bedroom, and it was a beautiful sunny day. And I looked in the room and I looked straight down, and there was his profile on the floor as a shadow. And I called David and we just took a photograph because we could not believe it. I mean, it was exactly his profile on the floor as
amazing,
a shadow.
Amazing.
Wow. Very, very, very funny.
Incredible.
He's done amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, once I was actually visiting my parents, I was sleeping on the floor. They had a little flat down in Bournemouth, and I was sleeping on the floor there when I was visiting them. In the middle of the night, I just woke up and I just felt somebody around me, and I felt it was Jonathan around me, and it felt really wonderful. And then I felt a weight on me, and then it was like I was being cuddled. But then I was thinking, this is amazing. Maybe I could be making this up in my mind. And then the sheets were pulled back from under my chin to below my waist. Wow.
Wow.
That blew my mind. It was the love and the feeling. It was just amazing. It was just really amazing. He's done so many wonderful things.
So, yeah, I mean, he really is incredible. Just one more story.
Yeah, it's got so many.
Because it's just amazing. I mean, this one, I have so many stories, Anne, but sadly I don't write many things down. This one just really sticks in my mind. We were in Florida. We were coming back to the airport, and it had been a particularly busy trip. As we were leaving the house that we were staying in, I remember saying to David, it's funny, Jonathan's not really been around this holiday, because normally he'd be, talking to us or showing it,
Right.
And we've got a daughter between us, Kerry, and Kerry, at that moment, she ran out of the bedroom and she said, oh, look what I just found in your bedside locker, Daddy. And it was a bookmark with a J on it.
Wow.
It didn't belong to us. It was somebody that either stayed there before.
Yes.
As I said this, and we just laughed, and we thought, wow, that's a sign, We went and got in the car, and we were driving back to the airport, and we hadn't had the radio on the whole holiday, not at all in the car. And after about 2 hours of driving, suddenly the radio came on and just said, Jonathan. And then the radio went off.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And we were, America, I mean, everywhere's a long way to drive, isn't it?
Yes.
Another couple of hours driving with no radio on. The radio comes on again. Bearing in mind, we're driving to the airport, and it comes on, and it's just one line of a Phil Collins song that comes on the radio, and that's In the Air Tonight.
Oh, wow.
You thinking, God.
Beautiful.
He's so clever.
Yes,
he's so clever.
And Spirit, this is Spirit. Spirit are so clever. And, I've gone on, I do readings myself. It's not the main part of my work, which, I'm sure we'll touch on very briefly in a minute. But, I absolutely love love giving readings. I give readings by Zoom, or in person. But, often spirit will come through and they will just give the most simple messages, but they mean so much to somebody.
Yes.
Very recently I had a man that came through and he said, I've got this pink cashmere jumper that he wanted to give to his daughter. And I just thought, I can't give that. That's so weak, pink cashmere jumper, And she said, that's what she cuddles. That's the only thing that she has of his is his pink cashmere jumper. And that is what absolutely comforts her when she needs him. And that's what she has. So it's kind of like, these little things that really mean so much. They really do. So,
Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Yeah, so yeah, there's been lots of amazing evidence with Jonathan through the years, and actually one more we could just do just one more. Was we were at Arthur Findlay College one day, and we had a reading from I can't remember the lady's name. I'm sorry. She was a medium from Blackburn, one of the tutors there. She's been tutoring there for years. She's from Blackburn. Amazing medium, anyway, amazing teacher. And we were in this room set aside overlooking the lawn, and the window was open. It was a warmish day, and it was a big room, really big room. Anyway, we were in there, and Jonathan always brings me butterflies because we had something when he was alive about butterflies, about two particular ones, particularly which were relevant to him and what we saw, and we used to joke about. Anyway, then through the reading itself was amazing. A butterfly came to the window. I thought, oh, there you go, that's Jonathan. I can just see that. Well, the medium didn't spot the butterfly. Then it came through the window. It was a big room, so it's like, and the window was high up, in these big stately homes.
But actually, what David's not telling you is, at this point, he was telling the medium that he showed himself as a butterfly, or he would show. I see. Yeah. And this butterfly had come through the window,
and then the butterfly flies straight onto my nose while the reading is going on.
That is just beautiful.
Sits there probably for about 3 or 4 minutes. Like, what is the chances? Like, wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
Just feel that love. It was amazing. Anyway, yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Such beautiful stories, and there's so much there to unpack within what you've just said. So, I mean, let's just go back a tiny bit. For what you were just saying there, Nicola, about the little things that mean so much. And I think as mediums, we have to be aware that if we get something that seems so insignificant and we question whether to give it across, we must always give what we get, because it could be the most vital piece of information ever.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't keep anything from your client, however insignificant it might seem. I had a lady, and all I could see was a birthday cake, and singing around a birthday cake, and these siblings, these little children singing around a birthday cake, and with one candle in the middle. And I just gave that one piece of information to the lady, and she stopped the reading, in fact, because she was so excited. She needed to go and give the information to her daughter immediately.
Wow.
Because it was the child, it was her daughter's child. It was her first birthday the day before, and she had died at birth. and they had a birthday cake with the siblings and sat around singing happy birthday the day before.
Wow.
And you know, it's like, you know, you just think, oh yeah, birthday cake with one candle, you know, but yeah, that was kind of, you know,
Yeah, that was it for her. That was the thing. So I was going to say, as you were talking and sharing all these stories between you, I was going to start off by saying, David, I'm so sorry for the loss of your son. But actually, what I want to say is, my goodness, you haven't lost him at all.
No,
He's
not
so
at all.
very present.
Still to this day, yeah. Amazing. It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you know, I initially I thought, oh gosh, you know, like that, you know, they say these, oh, don't get too attached to them in the spirit world because you'll stop their development. But that, for my understanding, just hasn't happened. He's just developed so much about. He's just developed so much, and it's amazing, and it's great that he comes in and yeah, has pokes fun at me and you know, guides us in all our lives still. It's amazing. So yeah, so I don't, yeah, of course I miss his physical contact, and it took me quite some years to get through that, but actually I had this big understanding the whole time that he'd not gone, that I'm going to see him again. Time passes and I'm not, you know, it's you know, and I know he's there and I know he's happier than he could ever be. And he understands so much more from such a greater perspective than I could ever understand from where I am here. Yeah. And really, I'm not worried. So, you know, that's really where I am. But people, you know, often when you say that, oh, you've lost a son and, you know, it's a pity and sadness they feel. But, you know, he gave me a life and he's given me a life now. And he's given me a reason to live. You know, if I just lived doing what I was doing before, being a successful pharmacist, a successful businessman, I might have all the worldly goods that I want, but I wouldn't be happy.
Yes.
Be empty, you know, and I think he really did guide us together. There's no doubt in my mind. You know, David wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Jonathan sort of, you know, pushing him to be there on that morning. And really, by meeting David, it completely changed my life. I mean, when I met David, I was very, very sick. And just through, you know, what he'd been through, he showed me a way of healing myself.
Yeah, because at the time I was, you know, so it's like I'm a scientist and I'm not a scientist at the same time, but probably more analytical. I've got an analytical mind, I suppose, which is what science is to much extent. And I don't think it's separate from a spiritual connection as well. You know, you can have them both. So I was studying food and knew food was important, and I knew that supplements and goodness knows what, which fitted my pharmacy background. You know, if it can pack it into a pill, which is what a supplement is, then, you know, I could understand those. And I knew a lot of the top researchers at the time in the world and had contacts with them and knew what was coming out and coming through. And I was trying, at the time, after losing Jonathan, I went to help other children with cancers, particularly, and then adults, and then different people with many different conditions. So, and I just wanted to keep studying and understanding what was going on. And I tried many approaches, but generally diet was number one, and supplements on top of that, and then herbs. But I found that the approach wasn't perfect that I was using, and it could be, you know, sometimes after a few months, you would need to change it and tweak it. And it felt a bit like the medicine approach that I'd been doing for years, you know, with drugs and goodness knows what. Yeah. Medicines rather than, should say, drugs. Anyway, and then when I met Nicola, I was still studying avidly and trying to find the answers. And I knew the answer was out there. And I just trying to find exactly what I'd done with Jonathan, exactly how I turned it around and the mechanisms involved. And when I met Nicola, she wasn't well, and I tried my Ayurveda on her that I'd been studying then for 5 years, and other more natural approaches. And some things got better and some things got worse.
Yeah, so I was suffering with like life-threatening allergies. I had, I believe it was rheumatoid arthritis. My whole family had it. I had never been diagnosed, but I was in so much pain with my joints. I had depression. I hormonal problems. I couldn't sleep at night. I had anxiety issues. I was very overweight. So yeah, there's lots of...
Sounds like you're describing me, actually, Nicola.
There was lots to sort out. And, I was only in my mid-30s and I met this man who was vegan. I thought, oh my God, what am I going... I can't do this. But actually, little by little, I made some changes. And then we found something together called macrobiotics. I won't go into this too much because it's not really the subject here, but it's really the energy of food.
And what it does for me is really what macrobiotics. So it's like it had a good name in the 60s, and then in the 70s it went a bit off. It's like a brown rice diet, people think, and it's a bit of a cult, but it's nothing like that. It's just a philosophy and understanding. But what it was for me that made the difference with it was I'd been studying scientifically everything for so long that when I looked, and it was just the food, but I knew that the answer wasn't just the food. It was in the energy of the food. It was in the energy of us. There's a spiritual aspect to us as well as a physical. And what macrobiotics does, it connects the food and the energy of the food to the spiritual aspects. So really, when you heal, it's not just the food that's healing. It's everything that you do that heals you. So it was, for me, it just blew my mind, and it answered all the questions that I'd been studying and looking into and trying to find answers for years, and it united everything that I'd been studying together.
But essentially, I got completely better
within 2 weeks,
just by changing my diet. So I was very, very sick, and I had been, I was the sickly one. It's like every month I'd be in bed with flu or upset tummy or sickness bug.
So Nicola, what did you do? Because I'm very interested in this. I'm sure loads of people are as well. Our diet is so, I think, can be so haphazard, and
everything's so available, isn't it?
What did you do to change to make yourself healthy within 2 weeks? How did you do that? What did you eat?
Okay, well, I just went. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do at the time, because we were just doing this from a little book, and we didn't really understand quite what we were doing. But it was essentially going back to probably what our great-grandparents would have eaten. So, foods that are around us. So they would have grown their own food, wouldn't they? They would have grown, fruit and vegetables. So it's sort of seasonal fruit and vegetables, things that are in your locality, so are actually good for us at that time of year. Because, I always just tell this little story, if you're eating tropical fruit,
yes,
it's meant for people that are living in the tropics.
Yes, I believe this very strongly too.
Yeah. So, the energy of that food fits the energy of those people. So those people that, are living in a hot, sticky, clammy climate, they need their bodies to be cooled down. Yeah, so that they can, cool themselves down, feel more relaxed. If you're more kind of uptight and rushing around in a tropical climate, you're going to get very sick. You need your body to be relaxed and cool and calm.
Right.
And even if you think about those people, if you think about, the chilled people, kind of like, get that vibe, don't you, when you go to the Caribbean? That's the food that they're eating.
Yes.
It's creating that. Yeah. So just by changing my diet to seasonal, local foods, fruit and vegetable. So I cut out a lot of the things that I was, particularly drawn to. And then whole grains as well. So, whole grains. And you think, brown rice, that's boring. It's far from boring. I mean, I don't do boring, and I always say to people, if you eat boring, you're going to be boring.
Right.
Because you are what you eat.
Yes.
And if you eat interesting variety and textures and flavors and colors, then that's what you're going to be. Sorry.
See, that sounds fantastic on paper, and it sounds very inspiring. However, in practice, this is where I fall down, and perhaps I speak for others, where I think, oh my goodness, I hate cooking. I can't stand being in the kitchen. I don't want to cook in there for ages. You spend ages preparing a meal and it's gone in 5 minutes, and then you have to wash it all up. It's just exhausting.
I completely get that.
That's where you came from.
That's where I came from. I was tired. So essentially, if you feel like that, you generally feel tired to start with. So you don't really have the inspiration to start with. You don't have the kind of the inspiration even to find out what it is that you need to do, or the energy to stand there and cook it. And then, you eat it and like you say, it's gone and that's it. But actually, when you start to change, and in the past, what we've done is we've taught people for 12 days. So they've come to us for 12 days and they have eaten with us for 12 days, and they change. I mean, they completely change, mind, body, spirit. They leave here crying. They don't want to leave.
Oh, nice.
And you see this transformation in people. After 2 or 3 days, they start to. It's a horrible word, but we call it discharge. It's kind of like they're discharging all of that from inside. It's not a detox. I don't like that word detox, because it's like we're just cleaning up our body.
Yeah, cleansing and refreshing.
Yeah, but we're not just cleaning up our body, we're cleaning up our mind, we're cleaning up our spirit. Stuff comes out in dreams. Our dreams are what we've eaten. It's the energy of the food that we've eaten that are creating the dreams that we have at night. I don't dream at all. If I go out to eat, a restaurant, I dream. Because, if you just think about it, when we do, for the listeners that understand psychometry, when you hold something, I started off holding items. I was so embarrassed about doing readings to start with. I would just hold something of somebody else's, and I'd do a little reading of that thing, and I'd hold a dictaphone, and I'd just do this little reading into a dictaphone and then hand everything back to somebody, because it was just, I'd feel this energy and I'd get this whole story around what it was that I was holding.
Right.
Well, the same is with food. If you just think, if you've got lovely vegetables that have been grown in beautiful soil by a lovely farmer, and and it's all cultivated lovely, and it's fed, pure clean water and nice fertilizer. You're eating really good, healthy food, but it's also the energy. If you're eating, I don't want to get too dark about this, but, if you're eating, a cow that has had a terrifying death, that has been injected with antibiotics all of its life to keep it, so that we can eat it at the end of the day. We're ingesting that, and we're ingesting all of that energy from that cow. And this is what I see so much with people, that once they've actually cleaned away all of that energy from what they've taken on board, they completely clear and they change so much. It's unbelievable. And so much of their mental, angst and anxieties go. Food. I'm so passionate about food.
I can feel that. It's so lovely.
But the changes that you make, you have to make at your own pace. So I could make changes quickly. Nicola had to go slowly. But what we find is that each time you make a change, it has an effect. And it moves you in the right direction, I think.
And you know what, Anne? When you feel so full of vitality, and you're so full of energy, and you feel so much younger than you used to feel. I feel younger now than I did when I started this. So, I'm 53 now, or very nearly 53. I started this when I was in my mid-30s.
Right.
And at that time, I couldn't make a meal. Now I make all the meals, and I enjoy it, and it's created my life. And what we teach people is it actually creates your dream, because by eating in a balanced way, which is essentially what we teach, is eating in a balanced way, you become balanced in your mind, your body, and your spirit. So you can see things in a very, very, you get so much clarity.
Yes. So
and
sorry, Nicola. So how would that affect somebody's mediumship or psychic?
It just blows it out the water. I mean, it just
really cleans, because what you're doing is you're clearing your energy centers in your body. You're clearing blockages out of the way. You're clearing your own beliefs. It's just helping to move everything forward and away and out of you.
You're clearing your channels. So if you think, people who understand chakras,
Yes.
we've got these chakras, and, if you have a blockage in a chakra, you can try and, realign it, rebalance it with a color or a crystal or a...
So, I'd say, as an example, I do that, when I do healing, people want healing and I give them healing, and there's different healings I can do, and I can do them with a voice or with spirit, or sometimes
chanting,
with chant as well, and trance. So, but I can heal somebody and I can rebalance them, and rebalance, so we say, their chakras and their energy centers. But if they're doing what they were doing before, then the next time I see them, then it's come back again. So it's really, if you do the food and do the basic building blocks of your body and alter those, then you change and you remove those blockages.
How do you keep people motivated to continue?
They feel so good. They feel so good they can't go back.
You can't go back. This is the thing. You can't, once you've actually felt that feeling and experienced it, and also, we coach people online, and we also teach people. So we, travel the world teaching. We also have people come to our home. We kind of basically, we'll just try and, get to people however we can get to people, and help them. We've seen so many people change, and the ones that really make the biggest changes are the people that are sick. So, macrobiotics, really, so long as somebody can still swallow food and eat, even if they're like, I'm not obviously not making any claims here at all, but, I have personally witnessed many, many people who have completely turned their lives around. We've got a friend, Meg, who lives out in the States, and she's got an incredible story. People can find her book and read her story. But she had breast cancer, and it went to both breasts. She had to have mastectomy. Then as it often does, people don't make changes, and they continue living and eating their life the way that they were doing, and not really understanding that actually it's that's causing, the sickness.
Yes.
And it went into her bones, and she got, various other cancers throughout her body, and she had to have, it's awful as it is, she had to have her leg removed because it had gone so into the bones. And she was told, go home, it's time to pass, you're going to pass away. Right. And she found an article on macrobiotics in a magazine, and she found somebody that could come and teach and help her and make food for her, because she obviously was very, very sick. And she regained health. This is... It must be 20 years ago now, and she's a great advocate now of health and well-being and and macrobiotics and what it did for her. But we've seen this time and time again with many of our clients too. So
huge turnaround from being so ill to being so very healthy.
Yeah, but it's not just your physical health. It's the way that you see life. And I often say to people, it's like, for me personally, somebody lifted a veil from my face, from my eyes, and I started to see the world completely differently. And that happened very quickly for me. I've had two people actually, they've not heard me say that, and they've commented very similar kind of words. Somebody said the colours in the world were brighter. Suddenly everything was brighter. And somebody else said it's like looking through the clouds and there's a new world. And I just thought that was amazing.
Exciting.
Because it's just,
so listen,
you get so excited about food,
Well, you've totally convinced me that I've definitely got to make some changes in my diet for sure. But I guess, we are great as human beings at putting blocks up in front of ourselves and giving reasons as to why we can't do it. So the two that I can think of is, number one, where do we get this food from? This very good nutritious food, because every time I go and buy vegetables, they're tasteless and disgusting. And if I buy organic, it comes to the point of it's very expensive. And how can we, on such a small budget, eat well and give up?
It's possible, because strangely enough, a few years ago, there was a lady and she had leukemia. Her husband didn't earn much money. They had 3 children, and she managed to resolve her issues on £50 a week with her budget.
Really?
So it's really knowing.
It's doable.
For to feed 5 people,
it is amazing. It is really, I suppose it's being guided in the first place, because we need guidance, don't we? Whatever we do in our life, if it's something that we don't know, we need guidance.
Yes.
So it's having a little bit of guidance and understanding, and really, although we recommend adding things into our diet, if you just think about some of the things that we do spend our money on that we probably wouldn't necessarily need or be drawn to anymore, and it kind of balances out. It always does.
Yes.
So you don't always have to go for the most expensive option. So where you make probably more of a saving in some areas, you might want to spend more in others, such as the vegetables. And you kind of, when you get that sense of change, you just have to do it.
And you're investing in your own health then. And when you feel the results, you can feel the benefits of that investment.
I never feel like I'm missing out. I have so many people asking me all sorts. They're the same questions time and time again. What do you do when you go out? Don't you feel like you're missing out? Well, we used to before lockdown. We used to go out, once a week, because we want to eat the best food we can find. And you always feel the energy of that food. And usually the next day you don't feel so good.
No, that's true. You feel terrible and you feel sluggish. And
Yeah. And you don't do your best work, and you don't make the best decisions. You might miss amazing opportunities because you miss them. I really see it as macrobiotics, which just means macro means big and bios means life. It's a philosophy because it's not a diet.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize it was a huge philosophy.
It's just a philosophy.
Yeah.
The superstars, a lot of celebrities that eat macrobiotics. Madonna, for instance.
Yes.
She's in her 60s now, isn't she? Still kind of, running around and doing amazing things. Woody Harrelson, for instance, as you were saying on the intro. Yeah, years ago, I just had a sudden call saying, he's making a film.
Now You See Me Too, was it?
Now You See Me Too. And there's a couple of scenes where it was food related. They were in Chinatown and they were in an Italian restaurant or something. And he is so passionate about macrobiotics and the way that it's created his life and makes him feel. And, he's very, eco-conscious, and he wouldn't eat any of the food. They needed to film him eating the food. So they just said, can you make him something? We need 10, 15-inch pizzas by this afternoon. And
right.
So
how amazing. So if somebody wants to come and see you, tell me what you're offering to people, both of you. You're offering consultations, and how does it work?
At the moment we're offering coaching because it's online, it's easy for people. We see a lot of people that come from abroad as well. That's very achievable. So coaching in the form of, people will be able to access us and we can help them with whatever issue they might have, whether it is a medical issue, something that they've got wrong with them that they want to resolve, or it could be just simply that they they want to feel stronger and happier and healthier. They're maybe already on the journey and they just want to tweak it. So we're happy to work with people like that because For a long time I was like, I can't do online, they're not in my kitchen, I can't show them, da, 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 da. But that's being too closed. I think really I wanted to be able to help as many people as I could, and it's working very well. We also have people that come 2 or 3 times a year that we teach something called the Cushy macrobiotic levels, which is quite a prestigious, well-known teaching course. So we tend to have a lot of people come from abroad for that. So yeah, I mean, we work in lots of different ways. We're going to be offering courses as well online soon, just so that people can dip their toes in and see what it's all about. And, I offer quite a bit on Facebook as well. So I'm quite a social media freak. I do love social media.
And are you also offering mediumship?
Yes, I offer mediumship, and I do a lot of psychic work as well. So my work is very much energy related. I do emotional freedom technique as well, which is very much freeing emotions, which often come up when I'm doing my psychic work. I can kind of feel those blockages in people.
Yes.
That's sort of stopping them from moving ahead in their lives. And just by doing some simple tapping, I don't know if people have heard of tapping, it's not intrusive at all. And it's so simple, but so powerful. So yeah, lots of different modalities that I use in my macrobiotic toolbox, because really macrobiotics is big life. It's not just food, it's healing, it's understanding people, and it's living a natural lifestyle.
Fantastic. And so tell everybody what your website is.
Our website is thekeytolife.com. The key, which is KI, to TO life. So thekeytolife.com. I've got an Instagram. My own personal one is Nicola.McCarthy _. And I also have Facebook at the.key.to.life.health. And I've also got my own private Nicola McCarthy, which I'm happy to include anybody on. I share all sorts on all different platforms.
Different platforms. That's wonderful. And can people reach David that way too?
Yeah, through Nicola. Generally, she's much more social media than me.
Yes.
But otherwise, I do have Facebook, which is David McCarthy. But yes, otherwise, Nicola is a very good point of contact.
And David's always there.
I am always there
by my side.
Absolutely.
So we kind of we do most things together. So even the coaching we do together, because
people come from different angles, and it depends on what they want and what they want to achieve at the end of the program. So
they can just contact you for an initial sort of guidance session, and
completely no obligation, free. We just have a chat on Zoom or on the telephone, just to see if we can help somebody, and obviously if energy matches, it's people have to feel comfortable, don't they? So,
of course. Oh my goodness, you guys, you've shared so much. You're so generous to share all of your knowledge with everybody.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for inviting us and letting us do this. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I really hope that people will get a lot out of it, and I'm sure that you will be getting some phone calls or emails to your website where people can come and see for themselves and have a little chat with you, because you're so approachable.
Thank you.
And you've got such a generosity of spirit. So thank you once again for coming on and sharing everything you know.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was David and Nicola McCarthy. So do go over to their website and check them out. All resources for this episode, including a full transcript, are over on my website. So do head over there and you can pick everything up, www.anntheato.com, ANNTHEATO.com. And have a little explore while you're visiting me. I have a little shop online and some wonderful new meditations which I've written and recorded to help you with your intuitive development. There is a wonderful, very short guided meditation that you can do in under 15 minutes a day called Forest bathing with a beautiful mix of forest sounds and trickling river water and little fish and bees buzzing. And honestly, you'd feel as if you were really immersed in a beautiful forest. So do check them out. They are really affordable, even for those on a very low income. And if you really are enjoying these podcasts and feel you're getting a lot out of them, I would ask you to consider purchasing one of my meditation tracks by way of showing your support, because there is no money earned from this little podcast, and I make it as a free resource for you. So thank you again to my wonderful guests, David and Nicola McCarthy, and to all of you who are out there listening and learning and developing. I really appreciate you. Have a fantastic couple of weeks, everybody. Stay safe. And until next time, my name is Ann Théato, and thank you for listening to Psychic Matters.